Hi everyone, welcome to this webinar on Cosmetic Dentistry as a Profit Center. I'm Larry Brooks from Smile-Viison, and I'll be your guide on this quick overview of a way to make cosmetics a big part of your practice. So to create a steady stream of larger cases, you need to have systems. You shouldn't be ad-libbing. And it's not that simple. And it does take a team approach. In this particular webinar, I'm going to speak about cosmetics and how to make this so important in your practice. And this will be a brief overview. Be happy to talk with you personally another time to help you on this journey. So, first of all, why cosmetics? Well, it's gratifying for doctors and patients. It's simple and predictable when you use rehearsed and repeatable systems. There's no need for costly equipment, no need for special certification or skills, and prospects are plentiful. You're looking at a picture of your most likely prospect, somebody over 60 years of age, and that population is growing. Those are the guys who have the money, have the need for sure, many have the desire, and those are procedures that are profitable. Let's link to the worksheet for a second and see. Let's fill this in for a second. Let's see that you're seeing in a day 15 patients. Number of those patients who might be a candidate for cosmetic procedures, I don't know. These are the answers I get usually. Maybe 4 out of the 15. The rest all have beautiful teeth, young people. Ask how many of these people might say yes to a cosmetic simulation. Well, if you ask properly and so on, probably 3 out of 4 will say sure. How many work days do you have in a month? The average is 16. That means you do 48 simulations in a month. If we put the cost of the simulations at this amount, it could be less, could be more. I'll talk to you about that personally. That means that you are investing $2,688 in simulations. Now, what percentage of those people saying yes would say yes to cosmetic simulations in 14 months or even longer? Usually it's somewhere around 25%. Some get 100, some get less, like 25%. So that means that you'd be starting 12 cases a month. Average number of units, probably 6 in most cases. There'd be some smaller cases, but for sure there'd be a number of larger cases as well. The average fee per unit, most people are charging $1,500 or more. That means that your annual gross income from these procedures would be $1.2 million. And if your overhead is somewhere around 65%, which for these cases it probably would be far less, then you're still making $500,000 on it. So that's the reason to be thinking that you'd be doing this. So let's talk more about cosmetic dentistry. It's a quality of life service that must be offered in a simple and readily understandable manner. It's not life-threatening, and people can live without it. So you're competing with other luxury goods or other quality of life items that people may want to buy. Insurance definitely won't offer it for you, and they won't pay for it. Yet it need not be a barrier. You can get your fee with or without insurance and at full fee. If you're interested, let me know, and I'll send you more information about the HIPAA Privacy Act and send you a form which patients can sign and which will allow you to proceed without the encumbrance of insurance payments. And it's totally legitimate. But you have to present cosmetics or the prospect will make another purchase instead. So what do you need to make all this work? Well, you need to have a practiced and repeatable case presentation system. You need someone to work with the doctor on this. Some team member who's interested in presentation and sales, who'll take the time and is allowed the time to work with the doctor in implementing the sales system. Appropriate positioning and promotion is necessary. Sufficient patient flow is a must. If you don't have enough people coming into the office or you're not seeing enough people, you're not going to be able to strike the odds that are necessary to present properly. And then finally, you need high confidence in what you're doing. Now, in today's discussion, we're going to discuss really 4 things. How to get organized, how to communicate with patients effectively, how to turn your promise into reality, and how to deliver final restorations that exceed expectations every time. So let's get started with offering cosmetic services. I know you want to get to the technical part as soon as possible. I will cover it, but first let's talk about how to get the cases lined up, because without that, you're not going to go anywhere. So, who are your prospects? How do you present? Rejection is probably your greatest fear. If you present to disinterested patients, they'll perceive the office as too aggressive. If you're afraid of no, you'll never make a sale. So who are your prospects? First of all, they have to have a physical need for cosmetic dentistry, and that's something that you know. They may want to look better, and they may have the financial resources. You don't really know those 2 things, but you have to find out. So how do you know who or who is not a prospect? Well, that's separating gold from the sand, and that's an art in itself. So you want to use a repeatable system to find out who is a candidate and who's not. You can qualify prospects starting with the first phone call. For example, you can ask leading questions like, how do you rate your smile on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the most perfect? The patient says, well, 7, 6, 5, something like that. Then you've got someone who's a candidate for cosmetic procedures, and you should proceed along those lines. If they tell you they're already thrilled with the way they look, your chances are less. This is qualification. You should frame the fees for people at an early stage so they understand that these are procedures that may cost thousands of dollars, and ask them if this is something that, in fact, they really want to do. Show examples and testimonials of your work. Of course, that's essential. Display a cosmetic simulation of patients. Gain more insight at a complete oral physical. Schedule a time, if the patient shows a desire, where you can really proceed with confidence. Present a written treatment plan with the right people in the room at a subsequent visit. The right people being the doctor, the team salesperson, the patient, and the patient's financial other. 4 people. And of course, make sure you follow up at the end. So, who will be your leader? That's really important. Think about who in your office can take on the responsibility of helping you present these complex cases. So, one very important part of the cosmetic presentation is using pictures to do the talking for you. It lets patients sell themselves. The visual case presentation starts with a smile and works back from there. It lets the patient want the results before discussing anything, and it develops trust and confidence. Help your patients understand what it is you're trying to offer them, because patients are blind to the possibilities of having a nicer smile. They don't see it, they don't understand it, they don't know. Unless you can show them how they will appear with a new smile, your chances of case acceptance are very, very much diminished. So use cosmetic simulations to communicate with your prospects. And this same device will also guide fabrication of the case. So there are two prongs: patient communication, a guide to the laboratory on case fabrication. Very important. Here are several examples of cosmetic simulations. You may like these, you may not, but these are possible outcomes that could be achieved. These are all hand-drawn. They're clinically accurate. These are results that you can expect to get in your office. Cut and paste doesn't work here. These need to be each one individually drawn. Now, patients may like these, they may not. If they do, you're on to the next step. If they say, well, I think the teeth should be longer, wider, whiter, rounder, whatever they want, that's time for a redraw, and it's on your Smile-Viison cosmetic imaging site. And ask for another drawing of what it is they want. Also, I've just shown one example per case, but you could show several examples as well, with fewer teeth or more teeth, or with or without gingival surgery or orthodontics. So any of those are possible. There's a new camera on the market, the Shofu Eye Special C-11. That's fabulous. I've had nothing but the best of words spoken by our clients who are using it. It makes taking pictures for cosmetic simulations simple. It's a simple camera that does a great deal. I definitely suggest that you look into this camera. Success depends also on your sales team. Who will be the leader? And how will that person be rewarded for success? After all, this person is selling. I hate to keep using that word, but they're selling, and they're entitled to make extra. That's different than just doing clerical work. So whoever is leading your sales team, keep that person in the loop and reward them properly. Presenting simulations. One way is to show a sample simulation to illustrate to the patient how it could look, what it is. Explain why it's the essential first step in planning of a case, because it is that important. Charge a fee or offer it for free. If you charge a fee, some people won't see the need for it and will say no. When, if shown for free, they might say, oh, I see the difference, now I'd like to proceed. So generally, we recommend doing it for free, but if you prefer to charge a fee, go ahead. You'll get less cases, but at least you'll get reimbursed for what you do. Wait for the okay to take your image, but don't discuss technical details until the patient's expressed a desire to go forward. Make sure that you send prints and email of the images to patients at home. Very, very important. We've done cases 17 years later in the lab after pictures were taken. And so it's important to send the pictures, the prints, because people will keep them. Also show them before and afters. When they come back to your office, both you can show them the actual prints, or better yet, show them on a large screen monitor, flashing back and forth, and that's right on your imaging site. All of this working together will give you the maximum results for this really one-on-one advertising. Discuss the simulation at a subsequent visit, and make a written and verbal case presentation to interested prospects. Follow up on the phone or in person. Ask, how do you feel about the images we sent? Are there any questions? Do you have any comments? Do you want to come in and talk with speak with the doctor about this? Very, very important to maximize the potential. Send monthly notes to keep in touch, answer all questions, and certainly review the simulations with patients when they come back at recall visits and subsequent visits. Remember, things change and their attitudes will change, and it never hurts to renew this concept when they're showing up again. When people say they are interested to proceed, that's when you want to set up your consult with the right people in the room, and or a complete oral physical to review the clinical findings. And then finally, there's closing the sale. Meet with the patient and the patient's financial other. Best to have 3 options in writing, offered by the doctor at the consultation, with the doctor, the team member present, the patient, and the patient's financial other. Should not take over 20 minutes to present such a case and come up with an option that's suitable for that patient. When done properly, you'll find that the great majority of these patients will go forward with one of the 3 options. Have the treatment coordinator arrange the finances. If you want to really make this happen and do more cosmetic cases, you will double your income, because these are done fee-for-service, and they're profitable, and they're also fun to do. This is a very quick overview I'm giving today, and so I'll be really happy to meet with any of you. Just give me a call. We'll set up a meeting. We'll talk about what you're doing now and what could be done to make this work even better for you in the future. It all starts with the simulation. So let's get into the technical part a little bit. I'm offering here a system to do cosmetic simulations, starting with the artistry, which is done extraorally in the planning phases, not in the mouth, not ad lib, not as the case is being fabricated. So the artistry part is all taken care of via the pictures before the case begins. After that, it's implement with craftsmanship. Now it's a matter of doing the finest dentistry step by step. Nothing more is required. The artistry is taken care of. The case will develop along the lines that I'm going to show you in a moment. This is the way we used to do cases in our laboratory at Smile-Viison, and you can see here the ceramist is making decisions about the case as he's working, except he's missing a little bit. He has no lips, he has no facial features, he has no input from the patient, he has very, very little to work with. Just teeth and his imagination about how it should be. Please don't go along these lines. That's not a good way. Instead, send your models of the case as they appeared in the pictures. This is a detailed, full-scale replica of what's in the cosmetic simulation, very accurate. After this is done, we will call your office and ask you to check out our wax-up. These are preview pictures of the work, and there's a place down here to add your comments, or you can call John Brooks at the lab, talk with him about your case, and if you want any changes. So we preview all cases, wax-ups and final cases, before they're shipped to save you time in the office. Once you've approved what we've done, then we'll make this prep guide for you. This is made over the wax-up, and all you have to do is put your perio probe through the holes to make sure that you've given us enough room to do whatever restorations you're planning to do. So the prep guide will guide you to the correct preparations. Also, after you've approved the case, if you find when it comes to you that you're not sure if you can really prep it, then it's time to go to the preoperative model, prep it over the sink with water, and then put the prep guide on and off. And as you do that, you will learn if in fact you can prep it. And this is for difficult cases. 95% of them are relatively simple, and you'll be sure just by viewing the images of the simulation on our website. Because on the website, the pictures are cropped so that everything stays the same, just the teeth fade in and fade out between before and after. So this is for very elaborate and difficult cases. Now, after you've prepped the case, you're ready to make your temporaries. We have a unique device that works very, very well. Here's your flexible inner layer. Here's your rigid, rock-hard outer shell. The flexible layer fits into the hard outer shell. You fill the device, the temporary template, with bisacryl, as I've shown here, careful to avoid bubbles, and press it with a great deal of force against the teeth. The hard outer shell will prevent distortion and of the incisal edges or the facial contours, and will allow the excess to extrude. You can let this set right on the teeth. That's what's done most of the time. Slide it off, and you can see the inner shell is still in place, and there's a thin layer of excess that's flowed over the boundaries. At this point, it's easy to snap that excess off, trim with a Cavitron, and you're all set. Better to leave it at this point, send the patient home. Say to them, I'm tired, you're numb, this isn't the time to tell. Let's talk in a couple of days. In our experience at Smile-Viison, we haven't had to change a wax up in many years now. And so that means that we're pretty much on the money all the time. However, each dentist may want to make certain changes. But these temps will reflect exactly what's in the picture. Now you've created a tremendous psychological advantage because the patient has signed off on the pictures and now they look like they do in the pictures. It's easy for them to accept this now, and that's why we've had such great acceptance of these cases, which we have over 4,500 done and in the mouth over the years. The beauty of these cases is that now it's easy for us in the laboratory to duplicate what the temporaries have shown. If the temporaries aren't right, it's very difficult for the lab to make it right by milling. And so the case usually then has to be waxed up by hand and you're back where you were. But when the temporaries are beautiful the way we're doing them, then it's a matter of scanning, milling, and then giving it to the ceramist, of course, for the final finishing. But what I wanted to point out is notice between the final case and the wax up how the highlights are all in the same place, meaning that the contours are the same, meaning that you've got a case here that when you put it in, you don't have to think twice about it. It's matching the temporaries in facial contour and incisal position. The plane of occlusion is parallel to the eyes. The embrasure between the centrals is exactly where it should be, perpendicular to that line. Again, notice the reflections. They're in the same place on the wax up and in the final case. And in order to do that, you have to have excellent temporaries. And so that's why this template technique that I've been discussing is so important to follow step by step. So here's some fee info just to give you an idea of what are the costs. For example, if you're looking at 4 units in 1 arch, using the template technique, waxing up per unit cost, here's your cost for the 4 units, probably in Emax are the most common. You're looking at a total per unit cost of $310. Of course, it's less if you do more teeth. I think you'll find that to be pretty reasonable in light of what you can charge and the amount of time that it takes to actually do the case. But now I have a surprise for you. This is the 90-day cosmetic challenge, where you use digital simulations plus prints to target patients already in your office for cosmetic work. We're not looking for new patients here. Rather, we're reaching out to current, new, and active patients. You're going to complete 20 simulations within 90 days. That's 1 every 3 days, roughly. And that's at a cost of $39 per simulation, which is a huge saving over what we normally charge. But I'm looking for people brave enough to try this, to take this challenge. receive live coaching. We'll help you to get started and move along the way. Right now you may have a gold mine of potential patients in your practice, but you're just not presenting to them. The trick will be to look for those people and then present to them properly. The 90-day cosmetic challenge package includes 20 full-face simulations, prints to go along with it in a folder ready to mail in duplicate archival quality, and live team coaching to help the marketing get started. We'll contact you to set up at least one or probably more teleconferences to help you along the way. We'll discuss patient prospecting, gaining permissions, taking the full face pictures, posting the images to the imaging site, mailing the prints to the patients, asking patients questions so that you can determine who's interested and who's not, follow up with patients with Q&A sessions, presenting the complete case and offering options to those expressing interest, and keeping records regarding success of the project over an 18-month period. For this, you'll pay $780 or for 20 simulations. Refunds are available if you don't use the pictures, or you may carry it over past the 90 days if you wish. I hope you'll call me at the number below. Let's talk about it. Let's see if this is a suitable procedure for you and your office to continue on. Thank you so much for viewing this webinar. I hope it's been helpful. Please contact me in any case. I look forward to working with you.